under attack. And they say Charizard is hard to catch. Now, well, what's in today's news? Well, I have something quite interesting. It has been rumored that Trump's no tax on tips may include influencers, which would be YouTubers. Not like me, because I still don't get tips. But smaller YouTubers who do get paid a little bit might benefit. And let's take a look and see what they mean here. So this is the actual law, S129. Basically, it's a no tax on tips. This deduction is allowed by subsection A for any taxpayer in a taxable year and shall not exceed $25,000. Basically, if your tips qualify under this law, you can take an additional $25,000 deduction on your taxes. On top of the standard deduction, which I believe for next year will be $15,000. So in effect, you won't pay federal taxes on $40,000 of your income. That is a nice number. That is a nice number. But there's some caveats to it. Basically, if you make too much money, you're not going to have any deduction, or it's going to be cut down. And there is a small thing here that is kind of, how would I say it? It may exclude you for certain things. So let's say you are in a field that's not listed under the section. Now they are going to give you a list eventually. It says even right here, no later than 90 days after the date of the enactment of this act, the Secretary of Treasury shall publish a list of occupations which traditionally and customarily receive tips on or before December 31st, 2023. So if you had a job that existed then, and it's listed here, this is where you claim those tips as a deduction. Okay, now, this is where it really matters, this section right here. The term qualified tip means any cash tip received by an individual in the course of such individual's employment in an occupation which traditionally and customarily receives tips on or before December 31st. So it has to be a business that customarily see you tip. So food, waiters, waitresses, things like that are traditionally tipped jobs. However, a CEO who gets a tip probably not going to be covered. Granted, take this with a grain of salt. I am not an accountant or a lawyer. This is just my understanding of it, and I think it's important to kind of talk about it here. This is something that I think YouTubers are going to find to be very helpful. Most small YouTubers probably don't make $25,000 off of YouTube. I make nothing. Used to on my other channel, but never made that much ever. I think if I combined it all, I've made maybe a few $100 on my other channel before I took a 9-year break from YouTube. That's kind of sad. But I think this is really going to help everybody. I think YouTubers are going to probably swing toward Trump. Now, is this something that Trump thought of? I don't know. Forbes actually republished a list, and it says that these are the lists that they think that the Treasury Department is going to list as tipped jobs, basically. Beverage and food service, bartenders, wait staff, food servers, dining room attendants, cafe attendants, bartender helpers, chefs, cooks, food prep workers, fast food, counter workers, dishwashers, host staff, restaurant lounge, coffee shop bakers. That's the ones you know for sure, pretty much. We all assumed that was the case. Now, this isn't the official list. This is a leak that Axios found that Forbes republished. Entertainment and events, gambling dealers, gambling change persons, booth cashiers. Basically, if you're at a casino, you tend to tip those people. So these are probably included as well. But on this same list, it includes entertainers, performers, digital content creators. Now, how does that digital content creator earn tips? It's not what you may think. It's not the advertisements that are placed on the video. Those should not be counted as tips, and I'll be surprised if they somehow word that where it allows that. I don't think that's going to happen. What they mean, I think, is super chats and things that are similar to whatever channel you're on. That is most likely what you're going to see. Super chats will basically be tax exempt up until $25,000. Granted, you still have to report this income. It's not like you can just say, well, it's less than $25,000. I don't have to do anything. No, you still have to say, I made $25,000 in tipped income. This is my deduction. And give me my money back. That's how it works. Hospitality and guest service, bellhops. Yeah, you tip these people. And if you're not, maybe you should start thinking about doing that. Home services, repair workers, home landscaping. Now, this is interesting. Home electricians, plumbers. I never tip my guys. I already pay them a fortune to do the work. AC repair guys. I mean, gosh, I pay them a fortune too, but they do a good job. And honestly, if I could afford to tip them, I would. But it's not. This is where I disagree. It's not really a customarily tipped business. But we accept tips. I work in the elevator business, and if people tip us, we're not going to say no. But it's never, something we expect. It's nice, but it's always nice getting money. Personal care services, or workers, or private event planners. Private event planners, you tip those people, you're paying them. Maybe we should do a whole video on what you should and shouldn't tip for, and what the opinion on that is. I don't think you should tip these people. Private event videographers. You hire these people based on a contract, and you pay them based on that contract. I don't get it. Nannies and babysitters. Babysitters is interesting. You contract them and then you tip them? No, you call the kid down the street to watch your kids, and you're like, here's like $50 for 2 hours. That's not necessarily tipping, but from the sound of it, they're going to try and include that. So there is let me see here. There is another section of this that I think was interesting, and I saw it, and I want to see if I can find it here. Here we go. Okay, so let me go back. It took me a second to find this. So this is the actual law, the one big beautiful bill. They have a change here. So what I was looking at is the act for it. This is the actual bill. So there is a few caveats to this, and it is right here. That's how you know that it doesn't include advertising income, but only tips. The term tip shall not include any amount received by an individual unless such amount is paid voluntarily without any consequence in the event of non-payment, is not the subject of negotiation, and is determined by the payer. The trade or business in the course of which the individual receives such amount is not specified, service, trade, or business, and such other requirements may be established. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Basically, what that first one is, Section A, voluntarily with pay without consequence, which means it has to be the person giving you the money that decides the amount, and it cannot be used to exchange for services other than simply you being a good person and they wanted to give you more money, basically. You can't say, I want more. You can't say, I want less. It cannot be part of that. So that's why I think this would still include super chats. So long as those super chats aren't, you pay me a super chat, I'll send you, I don't know, a picture of my feet. Although that might be a good idea to make some extra money. Anyway, so something like that. Basically, as long as they are just people saying, I like you, here's money. Basically, that's what they consider covered. They also have the date changed as December 31st, 2024. I don't know why it's different from text 129, but that's what we got here. And I did want a clarification on this, actually. This is actually a good question here. Cash chips. What is a cash tip? Does it literally mean you have to have cash? Obviously not, but this is good that they defined it. For purposes of the paragraph, the term cash tips includes tips received from customers that are paid in cash or charged, and in the case of an employee, tips received under any tip sharing arrangement. So if you usually see this in restaurants. The cook and the busboy usually aren't handed the tip, so it's shared in some restaurants. So you will tip the waitress, and she takes that money and splits it with everybody that worked with her. So you have the busboy, you have the cook, all those people. Social security number required, blah, blah, blah. So that's all well and good. It's important, I think, to have that listed as the definition of what we're dealing with. Definitions matter. What these things are, there's a reason that you find laws that are written out very long and drawn out. They have to account for every little thing so that they can at least give answers to every different person out there. There's millions of different jobs out there. Everyone's going to be asking the same questions. These are the specifics of how you can make this work for you. It can't be used, basically, like I said. And I was talking about earlier the AC repair people. You can't just say, well, the job was $400. I'm counting that as a tip. No. It was $400, and then the person at the house said, you did a great job. I like you. Please, thank you so much. Here's an extra $50. That extra $50 is the tip, not the $400. Granted, I'm not a tax expert. I'm just some guy on the internet. This is just my understanding, so don't take it as gospel. But I think this is going to be a good thing. I think Trump's going to be helping a lot of people. And I think this is really going to affect streamers. I really think this is going to be something that, if you are a streamer, pay attention to it. Ask your accountant whether this applies to you. You'll have more clarification probably in the next month or two on what qualifies. But I think what we have here is probably what's going to happen. But hey, I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm just some random guy on the internet who is slightly blurry. I don't know. Anyway, leave me a comment below and have a blessed day.